Hi everyone, I'm the creator of Nuclear Nightmare, and my name is Benjamin. I first started on this project as a one-man programmer, and I worked on it outside of my day job, which was 40 hours a week, and it was developed on a $1,000 to $2,000 budget. And that was my own money for the record that I invested into making it. So it's just incredible to see the amount of support the game has gotten over the past, it's only been really a month, almost 2 months since we released the game as early access. So it's just been incredible to see the amount of support it's gotten, and it's really been my dream come true. I was able to leave my day job, and I'm now doing Nuclear Nightmare full time. And I'm also beginning to hire people on full time so that the team can expand larger. Because as you know, with me being a one man programmer, it's quite a lot of work for just me. And I really think we could reach new heights with the added support. For example, I just hired a modeler. He's going to be coming on the project to work in modeling and animating uh, and enhancing more models. I'll get into that later in the slideshow. But mainly, the point of this intro was to really emphasize, where we've come from, how we got here, and where we plan to go, so you can see all that's possible. I see a lot of people referring to the game as the devs are working on this, the devs are working on that. And as far as Unreal Engine is concerned, working inside of Unreal Engine, it's really only me and another person. So if you think, and that's part time for the record as well. So if you think what we got now is good, what we'll have in the future will be incredible. With the added time and the added resources, I think we'll really be able to make something incredible. So let me jump in here. So the first slide we have is for December. So in the month of December, is the big update will be the base update. What I plan to add with this is we'll add barricades. So basically, the barricades will act as basically your whole method for having an outpost, right? Having a base settling down somewhere during night when enemies are most frequent, or any time of the day if you're playing on Nightmare. So, for example, you might find wooden planks lying around, and you would use these to board up the door and stop enemies from getting in. Um, and really just secure that base and give a different form of gameplay rather than just trying to speed run everything. You can really hunker down. This would also include mini games inside the bases. So you have pool, where you can play with other players on pool, or you can do chess on the computer. The chess would be AI controlled. You would play against the AI on the computer, of course, but pool would be if you're playing with multiple people. There'd be a new 8-person land vehicle. I won't talk too much on this just yet, since we're still figuring out how exactly it's going to look and what all the mechanics are going to be of it. But I think it's going to be something like what you would see in Antarctica, normally at research facilities where you have those tractor type of vehicles. I'm thinking something like that that would hold 8 people. I'm thinking about a mimic enemy. Not exactly sure the specifics on this one. Again, all this stuff I'm showing you guys is uh, as of today, which is December 2nd. A lot of it is conceptual. Some of it is being actively developed, but uh, this is what we're planning to get out by the end of December. So right now, it being December 2nd, it's still early days on a lot of these. I believe what I'm thinking for the mimic enemy is something that would be able to, it'd be another AI enemy. It wouldn't be player controlled. It'd be something that can try and take form of other players. Maybe even copy some of their speech from the audio from voice chat. I actually programmed with the voice chat system that I had built, the rework system. It has a built-in method for recording audio, so that might be able to get used in this type of situation where you have a mimic enemy. Um, and it would also, of course, be able to transform out of human form when it likes into whatever the actual form is. The rework playable enemy. This is something I've been thinking about heavily. As you know, right now, there's not a lot of strategic gameplay with the playable enemy. You kind of just go and run up and hit somebody, and then you run away. and you just keep repeating that loop. There's also no incentive for playing as a playable enemy. There's no points. You just end the game faster. So with the rework playable enemy, you would basically be able to take forms of a husky at first, and you'd be able to transform back into the creature form whenever you like. And I'm also thinking you'd be able to capture forms of other players. I think that'd be super cool to see as well. And then give some type of incentive for playing as the playable enemy, some kind of point system to give more incentive for killing other players. A new weapon. I was thinking of something automatic. The hard part with this is that it could make the game too unbalanced. So it has to be implemented the right way. So I won't jump into too many details on that one, but I'm thinking something like an MP5 would be pretty cool. I think it might end up being more of like a burst weapon rather than a full automatic to try and balance things out. Randomized objectives is definitely a big plan. I know for people that really love the game and they've been playing it nonstop since the release, it gets pretty stale after a while because you're just doing the same objectives over and over again. So I hope that with randomized objectives, this can be enhanced. I don't have any current plans for moving to like a procedural map. uh, I think the handcrafted stuff is a lot better presentation, and I think it's also got a lot more passion in it than uh, just procedurally generating something. Um, I'll go over that a bit more in some of the next slides. You'll see a bit more what I'm talking about. The next is the trader mode. So the trader mode isn't like a Among Us type of game where you're basically an alien the whole time and you're trying to, your whole objective is to blend in. The trader mode would be more something similar to where you're a human as well, but your whole mission is to sabotage the objectives for the other players. So that would be a mode, optional mode on top of the classic mode. And then movable lasers slash placeable lasers. So you'll be able to pick up the lasers and position them in whatever location you like and turn them on and off, basically making them a little bit more dynamic than how they are now, where people just kind of run into them and explode, and it seems like they do more damage for the players than they do the actual enemies. I actually intended for the lasers to be more of a mechanic where you were supposed to use them kind of strategically. You turn them on, um, and you try to lure an enemy in there and blow them up. However, I guess it's pretty hard to do that right now. How the enemy will often turn off the generator, making them unusable. I think if they do become placeable, it might be in my best interest to make them not controlled by the generator. Um, but they're still up in the air. And then over here I have community feedback, QL, bug fixing, and rework slash enhancements of models and animations. So your feedback is really valued. And with the added amount of players and the added interest, it's been really hard to read everything and respond to everything. But I still try to look at everything I can, and I take everything you guys say very seriously. Uh, so if you have some good feedback, post it in the forums or post it in the community Discord, and I'll read it. And if enough say they like it, I'll add it in. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Uh, or if I just read it and I personally think it's a really cool idea, then I'll add it. That's the beauty with this being such an indie project is that I can add anything you guys want. There's no milestones requirements. There's no confirmations from big publishers about releasing updates. I'm just constantly outputting stuff, and I would love to hear everybody's feedback on it. And then I have down here reworked enhancement of models and animation. So again, when I developed this game, I developed it on about $1,000 to $2,000 budget. Now, for people that know game design, that's not a lot of money. That's not a lot of money to make this kind of game, and you really can't. You got to cut a lot of corners. And as you can see with the current game, there's a lot of corners cut. I mean, there's parts where models stretch in weird ways, or we have world models for certain things, and that sort of thing that just could be overall enhanced, even in quality. Some models aren't best of quality, or some animations look a bit weird. So I've just got a new modeler on the team, and he's also an animator as well. So that's something I'm hoping we can bang out in December. We can go back and enhance a lot of those models and animations and make them a lot higher quality. Uh, so January. So in January, I want to release the Arctic Forest map. We actually already George the level. He's our level designer. He's already designing the level for this. This is actually an in-game screenshot we have of the current map right now as of December 2nd. How it looks right now in development. There's no locations in here. It's just the terrain and how it looks and everything. There's no location, there's no objectives yet. So this is what we plan to add through December and January. We'll plan to get this ready for release, where basically this will be a new take on Nuclear Nightmare. So you'll have boats. It won't be as land vehicle focused. So there'll be these river streams cutting through each parts of the terrain, and you can use these boats to navigate around that map. Uh, and it should be a nice difference from the Antarctica map, which is more of a focus on a larger map, and you need a lot more players to have a better time in that one versus this one will be smaller, approximately about half the size of the current map. So it'll be more densely packed with content rather than larger areas that are mainly used for navigation. Basically, the whole idea around the current map is that i- in order to utilize the vehicles properly, it had to make sense for there to be large stretches with nothing from point to point, so that you would try to conserve uh, gasoline. Versus this would be a bit of a new take because it still does have the gasoline fuel management systems built into it with the boats, but it won't be as heavily reliant. Where if you don't have a vehicle, you're just walking on foot for miles and miles. Um, so inside the forest map, we plan to basically each map will have a brand new take on the current game. It'll be a new type of vehicles and new enemies, and I'll pretty much feel like playing a slightly different game with each map, but it will still uphold that core gameplay loop that a lot of players have grown to love. Where you're doing the generators, you're finding the objectives and doing those set objectives. It'll just really be the enemy types and vehicles that are different. And I think that'll be really cool to see with the boats, and there'll be swimming mechanics as well with that. So in terms of brand new enemies, what we do have already planned for the forest map is these cult-like people. And it's not your stereotypical cult-like people where you see a bunch of people in dark robes. It'll be more people wearing Arctic gear and that sort of thing. But basically, they've grown to love the black goo virus and treat it as a god, and they form this religion around them. So you can find that some of them all hunkered together in certain locations, and they can actually turn infected as well. So they can get the infection just like any other player and turn. But if they're not infected, instead of being monsters that are trying to kill you, they will actually try to set you in their traps. So if they catch you, they might hang you up by a tree, or put you in some type of machinery or something like that. Uh, so it won't be any kind of instant kill. It'll be pretty much just set you back. You'll lose all your items, and you'll have to um, go and get strung down from the trap. Maybe your friend will have to help untie you from a tree or something like that. Um, there'll be new guns and weapons. Again, this is still early days. Um, and for the record, again, when I say early days, I mean that as of December 2nd. This, for the record, this is going to be planned to be released sometime in January. So whenever you see the month up here or this top title, that's when we're planning to release it. Right now, as of December 2nd, I'm optimistic that we can meet it on New Year's. But again, with all these things, um, sometimes with development, things end up taking longer than you think. Sometimes they end up taking shorter than you think. So it really just all depends on how things are going. But I think late term, worst case, I think it should be out by the end of January. Um, New guns, weapons, again, early days, so we don't have full plans for what these specific weapons are going to be. That's going to be kind of decided as we bring in the new enemy type. So we'll figure out how those actually play against the player and figure out what weapons would best work in this situation. I think that there'll be still the core weapons that will exist. It'll just be about adding new ones to the spawn pool. So, for example, like I think a flamethrower could be a really cool dynamic in this map since it's forest based. You could end up accidentally lighting up parts of the forest and catching things on fire. I think that could be an awesome mechanic. Um, so expanding on the core gameplay loop, this means making the objectives a bit more dynamic, less like just going up to an object and pressing E on them. Uh, it'd be more in depth. Maybe you have to find parts to rebuild something, some kind of engine to do a different objective, something of that nature. Just something that makes it a little bit, more complicated. Not to the point where it's like a puzzle game, but to the point where it's just a bit more going on. Maybe other players could potentially help. I mean, I imagine if it's some kind of item search where you're trying to find a part of an engine to fix that could engage other players a bit more, trying to go out and actively seek them rather than one player just running up to an objective and pressing E. Um, and then, of course, with every major content update, we plan to add new skins and new picks. The pick tree right now is it's really just the beginning of what where I think the picks could go, really. I don't think it's fully fleshed out in terms of what it will look like long term. I mean, there's some picks in there that I think worked better in early development, and then now as the game's developed more, it hasn't worked out as well. Some of them are intentionally bad, uh, because they're supposed to be detailed. You're supposed to work your way up to the higher ones. So, but I think a lot more people just want to see fun picks, to make the game more enjoyable rather than having to go through all that. So that might be something we reconsider doing, for the pick system. Um, so then, quarter 1, quarter 2, 2025. We plan to add just a ton of maps. I mean, I want to try and output a new map every 1 to 2 months would be ideal. Uh, Again, might be a bit optimistic, just with how long these things do end up taking, with having to add new enemies, new vehicles, having to get all the parts modeled. It may be a bit optimistic, but definitely something I'd like to engage in. Um, So yeah, because I mean I think a lot of games right now out use a lot of co-op games. They're very gimmicky, right? So you have one game that's the underwater game, or you have one that's the forest game, or whatever, right? And I mean even Nuclear Nightmare, right? Nuclear Nightmare right now, it's the Arctic game. It's the snow survival horror co-op game. But preferably, I'd like to expand it to a point where it's so dynamic that we have all these different settings to play. So, a lot of ones I've got on here are more conceptual rather than something we've confirmed. Are the ones that I do want to confirm are the bunker and underground facilities. I think that's one that we've been planning a lot for. I think it'd be really cool to see. But in space, that's just a suggestion I got that I thought would be really cool. Again, uh, if you guys can suggest, throw all your suggestions. Um, I listen to every single one of them. Um, if enough people say they like something, I will end up adding it. So really, whatever you know you guys would like to see, throw it at me. These aren't the confirmed maps. I really want to leave a lot dictated to the community. So if you have a better idea of what should be in this list of next locations, please let me know. Then down at the bottom, we got new game modes and new pick trees. So again, that kind of goes back to the conversation with the forest map, as well as this caption I have here saying following same design pattern as January update, is I want the maps to continue that same kind of design pattern. So if we go to back to January, you can see it has new vehicles, it has new enemy types, it has new mechanics, it has new weapons, it has new skins, and it has new picks. So that would be the same for all these maps. All these maps would include new vehicles, new skins, new picks, new enemy types. I want each map to have its own unique feel. So you don't just kind of go, okay, well, I'm just playing the same exact game. It's just in a different location. I think I want these all to have their own unique, you know, interesting parts to them. but still keeping this core gameplay loop intact. Um, so that's Q1 to Q2 25. I put Q1 to Q2 because, really, I don't really know how long or how in depth all the next maps are going to be because these are still in the very early stages of of conceptual design. For example, the main focus right now is the bunker update and the forest map, which are actively in development. And again, a lot of these I want to be dictated by the community. So nothing for Q1 to Q2 is confirmed in development yet. It's just something we're trying to iron out before we begin on it. Um, so it could really be Q1 to Q4. If there's enough maps that people want to see, or if these change to be bigger scopes and that sort of thing. So we'll really just see as we go. So then final release, and this is to be decided. So this is like my dream game. It would be to turn all these maps into one massive open world where you have a vehicle as a submarine. You'd have your submarine or your carrier type of some vehicle similar to that, where that's kind of like your lobby area. So right now you're just in that one set helicopter that everybody's in whenever they start a match. So yours would be that whatever your vehicle is, and then you could upgrade it and you could add cosmetics to your vehicle and you could upgrade it in certain ways and make it really cool. Um, and then this would so effectively it would eliminate the whole method of match based making, right? So it would become where it's just one massive open world. You load in and you're in the water with all these other players. They've got all their boats everywhere and they're traversing different locations of the map. So maybe you could go right down to the Antarctica region where you'd go back to that original map, and you would be going there just to complete a set contract, rather than it saying, okay, now you've completed the match, so now you failed the match, right? And then you'd go and respawn back at wherever your aircraft or not aircraft, your submarine slash carrier is located. Um, Obviously, this is very early days to be talking about this side of things. This is the most massive part that I don't know how achievable is right with me being the only programmer as of now. But the hope is with the success we've seen in such a short amount of time, with just the early access release for something that I made with $1,000 and $2,000 while working a day job. I hope that we can still sustain sales enough to grow it to a point where we can hire extra help and grow it into something like this, which I think will be very possible. And like I said, I've already, now this is as of making this video December 2nd, I've now left my day job and I am working on Nuclear Nightmare full time. So I think it should be very possible to get, you know, grow it into this, especially with the amount of sales we're seeing. I think we can afford to get more people working on it. I've just got a modeler slash animator to come in. So I think will easily be able to grow into this area. So then we also have a modding API. That's another big thing. I'm not quite sure where it fits in on the timeline. I want to get modding capability for modding in. I love modding. If you don't know, I actually came my original the originally how I got into game design was when I was very young. I was in the modding that game, Amnesia: The Dark Descent. You made a bunch of cool conversion mods for it, and other mods that I released on ModDB. Uh, and I always thought it was super cool seeing people do things to games, and it's awesome to see that. And I would love that to be a part of Nuclear Nightmares. People can go and add their own content. The unfortunate part is that Unreal makes it really hard to implement that in a easy way. So hopefully, that can be something that doesn't end up being as complicated as I think it might be. Um, but I do already have somebody in the community that is interested in and is knowledgeable in the modding APIs specifically for Unreal, and I think I will get him on the project to work on that specific sphere of development. But of course, the main focus right now is content. So again, guys, I just want to thank you all for tuning into the roadmap video, and again, thank you for supporting the game. It's been an absolute dream for me. I mean, I still have to pinch myself and realize I'm not dreaming, uh, because it's just so crazy how fast everything all blew up, and all the support and community that's gathered around it. And also, to make clear, I have no plans to stop working on this game. I don't, even after full release, I don't plan to stop working on it. I still plan to keep adding things, keep adding maps, keep adding content. As long as people are playing it, I can keep doing that. I'm the type of guy, if the world didn't work around money, and I had $1 billion and I didn't have to work for the rest of my life, I would still make games, specifically horror games, because this is my passion. This is what I love to do. Um, so again, I just want to thank you guys. I really appreciate.